Alright, so Paimon thinks it's time for a survey, which I'm sure Paimon will then probably ignore. But gotta get my 30k Mora, so let's see what nonsense questions they're going to be asking this time. I think it's definitely an improvement to put the picture here of the event that they're talking about, because I've definitely done a few of these surveys and they say the name of the event, I'm like, I don't know which event that was. So I think this is, at least for me, a little bit of a small positive change. Best describes your understanding of the Labyrinth Warriors event. I know of this event. I don't know of this event. I've never understood why these are the only options. It's like, I know of the event, or I just didn't know the event existed either. It's like, is there some sort of middle ground at all? This describes your participation. I'm not interested, and I have not participated. I'm not interested, and I have not participated. The answers on these surveys are honestly funny. I'm interested in the event, and I have participated. Yes, I suppose that is what happened. How satisfied were you with the Labyrinth Warriors event? It obviously could have been significantly better, but I think it was probably one of the better events so far. So in terms of the event itself, I think I'd probably say somewhat satisfied, but seeing how it is kind of a massive improvement to almost everything else we've seen in the game, I guess I'll just say very satisfied. You know, who knows, in hopes that maybe they'll do more content like that. How satisfied are you with the following aspects of, ooh, I just hit something on accident. Aspects of the Labyrinth Warriors event. Select one for each. The event story, pretty unsatisfied. It was not interesting. The clarity of the rules and the prompts, I mean, that was fine. The overall event rewards, fine. Well, I don't know. Because the fact that the last place gave you absolutely nothing, I did find to be kind of strange. Like, I'm fine with it not giving Primogems, but I'm just not sure why they didn't even have those chests that gave, like, 2 heroes wits and like 20k Mora. You know, just having like 2 of those chests would barely give you anything, but at least it would have felt a little bit better. Because honestly, I think the chest rooms were probably the most fun out of some of the rooms. I just got a laugh out of them. So that makes me think neutral. But we did get the Shiki Taisho, or at least a copy of him as a pet. So that leans more towards more satisfied. So I guess I'll go middle ground and say somewhat satisfied. The time required to earn the rewards you want. Sure. I guess that's fine. How interesting did you find the Labyrinth Warriors event? Quite interesting. I guess I'll say, sure. We'll go quite interesting. Again, like, that was a bit more of the type of content I was expecting going into this game. We're kind of like dungeon crawlers. And I think even as a dungeon crawler, it's still not up to snuff. I think it needs to be drastically improved. But it was fun and is definitely a step in the right direction. So I definitely hope that they will continue along those lines. And maybe add a co-op feature, because being able to do this, even if it's just like with one other person, could be really quite fun. How would you rate the gameplay strategy of Labyrinth Warriors event? Honestly, I feel like I'd say somewhat weak. Like, I went through the entire place and then realized I never even used the 3 cards that you choose, like, literally a single time. So, like, there just wasn't any actual real reason for me to use them. I think it'd be definitely useful for someone who is a bit weaker or just isn't as far in, say, like, artifact farming. So I can understand that. But at least from my perspective, it was kind of pretty much just go to the next room, kill the enemies, get some random card that pops up if you even want any of them. And for the clue ones, I literally just didn't even use them, because it's like, oh, I could get something I don't need, or I could get cursed. Right? So logically speaking, it just wouldn't even make any sense for me to do so. So I would have liked to seen a bit more strategy, or perhaps have it cards that, instead of just give you some sort of damage buff, maybe like protect you or something from some terrain effect, and maybe have like terrain effects or something. But make it so that the cards aren't just a, oh, hey, you do more damage, or hey, you take less damage, but actually have to do with the domain itself, or like negating certain attacks. I think that would have been a little bit more interesting in terms of strategy, because otherwise it's pretty much just, you know, pick a card that increases your damage or something, and that's about it. How satisfied are you with the various gameplay stages of the Labyrinth Warriors event? I'll say the first one I thought was really boring. I will say that. I did think the first stage was pretty uninteresting. So you know what? I'll just say extremely satisfied with these. I'll say somewhat satisfied with this one. Because again, it's not even just that you didn't get anything for doing it. It's more so just that, like, not having the chest rooms just felt kind of lame. And also, I feel like I would have liked, you know, like in MMOs or something, if you complete the hardest place on the hardest difficulty or so on and so forth, like you get an achievement. So I would have liked an achievement for having completed the last stage at the very least. And it could have given just like 5 Primo Gems, like to the point where like it honestly basically doesn't matter. Because without it, it sort of just feels like, you know, you go through it, you do it, and then once you finished it, it's like, okay, all right, that's done. How interesting did you find the various gameplay stages of the Labyrinth Warriors event? Wait, how is this different from the last question? Isn't it like the same thing? Or did I not read the last one properly? How interesting. So maybe instead of like how much I liked it, how interesting did I feel that they were? I mean, they weren't that interesting if I'm honest. Again, like they're pretty bare bones. Like if this was an actual dungeon crawler game, this would be a pretty bad stage. So I honestly feel like putting neutral for these, but I want them to do more of this type of thing. So maybe I'll do at least quite interesting. About the difficulty for various gameplay stages of the Labyrinth Warriors. I mean, this one was just too easy. I mean, honestly, most of these are too easy. Like, this one was a good difficulty. These were too easy, I'd say. But again, the difficulty scaling is difficult because people are at different stages in the game, and like mostly just artifact farming. That's the biggest, I think, honestly, you know, aside from people who are wailing on the game and have like loads of 5-star weapons, the artifacts are going to be probably like the biggest difference in terms of how much damage you can output. What might have been like a better change for this type of place is like when you interacted with the battle rooms, there was like, what was it? I think it was Serious and Dire. I never once did Serious, so I don't actually know what the difficulty difference between those two were. But what I would probably do is just have that as a setting from the very get-go. Have it like a normal, or if you want it to be serious, sure, Serious, and then Dire, and have the difficulty be actually decently different so that people who aren't far in their artifact farming stage can still get through the event fine, and then for the people who are pretty decent can get through the event while enjoying the event instead of being like, you know, obliterating everything in the domain to the point where it just felt like you don't even get to experience it because you're just killing everything so fast. And then also by not having to click, you know, select and then Serious or Dire once entering the room, then you could just have the enemies in the room once you enter, which I feel like just adds more to a dungeon crawler experience than having nothing in the room at all and then just walking in and clicking, you know, select or whatever on a glowing flag thing and then have all the enemies spawn. I feel like that just takes a little bit out of the fun of like a dungeon crawler. If this difficulty level stage 5 rending absolution is adjusted in the future, what adjustment would you like to see? I mean, I think the stage 5 was honestly the one that actually had like a decent, you know, this one like could be difficult. Like you could get just destroyed by certain things if you weren't paying enough attention. So I think stage 5 was good. I would have liked to seen the difficulty on stage 5 be available for all the stages, but then a lower difficulty for everybody that, you know, isn't at this state. In the Labyrinth Warriors event, travelers are able to enhance charms, draw charms, and carry Shikifuda into battle to enhance their team's combat abilities. Overall, how satisfied are you with the charm magic, charms, and Shikifuda? I don't even know what to say here. Like, these I literally just didn't even use. So do I say, I mean, I knew what they were there, but it seemed like it paused the game. And I think that might have been different. Like, if there was just a button I pressed and then it just automatically used it, I think that'd be different, but like basically pausing the game to choose one of 3 things to use, I think that was honestly probably the reason I didn't use them, was just because it felt like it took you out of combat. Did you encounter the following problems when using charm magic? I do not know how to enhance charm magic. Okay, you go to the menu and click select. They were not very interesting. Did you encounter the following problems while using charms? The descriptions of certain charms are too long. I was not able to draw the charm I wanted. Maybe this one I guess I could see. And I could also see like never getting a charm that's actually useful to you, so maybe these two. The desired combinations again is just that I would have liked to have been able to stack the constellation increases, and I just don't know if I don't know if I was getting unlucky with not being able to do so, or if that literally wasn't possible. Did you encounter the following problems when using Shikifuda? When using Shikifuda, it causes a page to pop up and interrupt the rhythm of battle. Yeah, that's true. During the various Labyrinth Warrior stages, travelers may trigger cursed seals which brought on negative effects. How would you rate the impact of cursed seals on the combat situation? I mean, you know, if it causes you to not be able to heal for the entire floor, that could be rough. Like, that's seriously pretty difficult. So, I've triggered them and they cause a hindrance in battle, yeah. The following questions are related to the Tuned to the Worlds event. This event was boring as all heck. Like, I was fine with the rhythm game, or I don't know what those are honestly called, I can't even remember. But I was really expecting to actually get to even just have like a line of dialogue with the people that we were doing the songs with, instead of it just being us like literally hallucinating them there. I guess we ate a few too many mushrooms or something. I know this event, I don't know this event. Why is that the only... Oh, maybe this is, if you click this one, then it just skips it? Like this entire section? That could be. If that's the case, then I'll retract my statement about this being a weird question. Then I guess this makes sense. It just like makes it quicker for people who just didn't do the events. Which of the following statements best describes your participation? This still seems weird. Alright, I'm interested in the event and I have participated. I'm not interested in the event, but I have participated. Maybe it's that one. But I mean, I was interested because I was looking forward to seeing the people, but I ended up not being interested because we didn't. I don't know, which should I choose? I don't know. Pretty unsatisfied, honestly. What are the main reasons for your dissatisfaction? My favorite character is not player in the gameplay. Who cares? You don't get to talk to them. In order to challenge the next difficulty, you have to repeat the operations and can't start the challenge right away. Yeah, that's just pointless. Yeah, that's not my issues. Would have liked to actually verse with our partners instead of just imagining that they were there. How satisfied are you with the following aspects of the Tuned to the World's events? The clarity of the rules and the prompts, yeah, sure, that's fine. The overall event rewards, I mean, they're the same as always, like barely anything at all. Like, what, 3 wishes, maybe? How interesting, pretty boring. So, you know, again, I actually didn't mind the gameplay itself, it's fine. I just don't understand the point of putting those partners there if they're not actually there. I haven't used it. I haven't used it, so I don't know, I'll just say neutral. Any thoughts you'd like to share with us about version 2.2? Okay. Honestly speaking, so far, I think I basically just left some just random single thing and been like, whatever. I'm actually thinking I might start just like making a sticky note of stuff. And let's see how much stuff you're actually even allowed to write here. Alright, so while obviously this is not in any way close to everything, we have a few things down that I would definitely like to be changed soon. So first, camera changes. Please add an option to remove the zoom in on certain characters' bursts, or add an option for the camera to auto reset to maximum distance. Having to constantly zoom out after every burst is incredibly annoying. This is something that I definitely have disliked from basically day one, where, you know, if you use, say, like Zhangling's burst or Beto's or Xinqiu's, it zooms in and then you have to manually zoom out while you are fighting. That's just pointless and annoying. I'd rather not have to constantly be scrolling back on my mouse wheel anymore. Thank you very much. Artifact changes. I'm going to be honest, I am starting to get to the point where artifact farming is driving me insane and I want to stop playing the game, of endlessly getting pieces I cannot use, or getting pieces of the other set which are usable or perhaps even fantastic, but it is a set I am not using. So, a change in which I think could make this a decent bit better is, the current state of artifact farming makes me want to quit the game. At the very least, please implement a system similar to the Sunday talent domain, where you can pick the artifact you would like to get instead of constantly getting one you do not want. Or a way to transfer an artifact of one set to the other set in that domain. So in other words, make it so that you can choose the artifact you would like to farm for and only get artifacts of that set, or give you some sort of way to transform an artifact into the other version of where that artifact comes from. So, Raiden stuff. I still maintain that I don't think Raiden's a particularly good character. because she's kind of a jack of, actually not jack of all trades because she doesn't like heal or shield or anything like that, or gather, because she's a jack of a few trades, master of none. And the issue there is just then that, especially at C0, it's very different if you ever at C2 or C3, of course, with her C3 literally doubling her damage. But at C0, she just doesn't do a particularly large amount of damage. Her energy generation just isn't enough for high energy cost characters to actually build into damage. And so pretty much whatever team you put her in, you can find another 4-star to rearrange the team to deal just as much, if not more damage. And I don't think I even talked about Raiden Shogun during the surveys in 2.1, and a major reason, honestly, I think that was the case was because Kokomi. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the reason why they released Kokomi the way that they did is because they knew that Raiden wasn't really up to snuff and people wouldn't be pleased, even though she would sell an incredible amount. And so then they released a character that would widely be considered possibly the worst 5-star in the game, so that people would kind of just forget about Raiden's issues. But moving on from my conspiracy theories, we can get into what I would suggest about Raiden. As it currently stands, Raiden doesn't have much of a place in the game, as you can replace her in most teams with a better 4-star, so I would suggest the following changes. She doesn't actually generate enough energy to allow high-cost characters to ditch their energy recharge. Against the Magukenki, a less than C6 Incho with a damage weapon and 150% ER only has 80% of the energy needed, this should be 4, his burst. A battery that cannot give a character with 150% ER their burst off cooldown is not a good battery. You may disagree, but that's my feelings on that matter. Beidou. Beidou is the one character that Raiden would work with in her current state, and many people assumed she would work, and that is why they pulled. And some people did not pull for her precisely due to not working with Beidou. Think about Raiden's rerun banner. If you make her work with Beidou, do you think more or less people will spend money / primo gems on her rerun banner? You know, trying to give a little bit of incentive to Mihoyo to make Raiden work with the one character that she really would make a good team with by hopefully dangling, you know, the potential money that they would gain if they make them work together. Finally, damage. To give her a slight damage increase while not overinflating a C3 plus Raiden, I would suggest giving her E-skill the ability to change into burst damage for the duration of the skill if cast within her burst state. So, the reason why I'd sort of suggest this change is because Raiden's elemental skill actually does a decent amount of damage in terms of its modifier. It does quite a bit more than, say, like Ayaka's elemental skill. It does more than Zhengling's Goba, you know, if you're not, you know, vaporizing or melting it. And it does like about half the damage of Fischl's Oz, but it's AoE. So, I mean, honestly, this is a skill that like should constitute a decent-ish amount of her damage. But because of the way she works and where you basically need to build her into burst damage in order to make her do any damage at all, her elemental skill kind of just ends up being left behind for no real reason. And to kind of like show what I mean by that, with my Raiden, because she's using the catch and she's using the Emblem of Fate set, my Raiden has like over 90% additional damage bonus to her burst damage than the rest of her kit. So if you could add an additional, you know, 90 plus damage bonus to her elemental skill, you know, it would actually be dealing decent-ish damage. And that I think by itself could make her dish out a little bit more damage, you know, not a ton. I'm not asking for like some insane increases on her modifiers or anything, just like a little bit of a damage increase to put her in a little bit of a better spot while also not really increasing, you know, a C2 or above Raiden by an incredible amount. So still keeping her in a similar spot to where she is currently. And so doesn't just like blow the other actual raw DPS characters out of the water. Okay, so I guess that's it. Let me know what you guys think about, you know, the suggestions I made. And what suggestions did you make for Mihoyo to probably ignore and just throw into the bin? Because honestly, I don't know why they even have these if they just straight up are not interested in listening to anybody. I don't know why they even have the betas, to be honest. But, you know, hey, I guess it doesn't hurt to try, I guess. And I can get the 30,000 Mora to immediately dump on an artifact, I guess. But anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you all for watching. Look forward to seeing you again next time, and hope you all have a great day.